Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Reading in the Dark. Byron here. It has been a little while since the last time I made a video. And as I said in my vlog, there are a couple of reasons for that. I burned out a little bit on my reading after Halloween. My house was a mess I had to clean up, and then I had to put all the decorations away. And I actually got into a huge project reorganizing my office. It was like a whole thing, in addition to the fact that I got sick. So I kind of ended up, A, not reading much, and B, just not having time or the energy to make a video. So I'm sorry about that, but I am back now. And what I'm gonna do today, I actually started to make a book haul video for October, and I realized my heart is not in doing book haul videos, talking about a bunch of books that I haven't read yet, and reading blurbs. I don't know, it seems silly to me. I'm not that excited about it. So this is my October favorites video. For my favorites in October, first of all, I'm not doing a wrap up for the month of October because literally everything I read in October, I read for Spookathon, and I did a Spookathon wrap up. So there's no need. The first thing on my list is my favorite book cover. Now, my favorite book cover goes to a book that I hauled in October, but I have not actually read yet, and that is the cover for Ragged Edge of Night by Olivia. This is a World War II Nazi historical fiction novel that I am really excited to read, and I wanna, as with so many other things, I just wanna like put everything else down that I'm reading and read this instead, but obviously I'm not gonna do that because I am currently reading books. So yes, but is this not a beautiful cover? I love the color blue. I love a starry sky. I love these buildings. It sets the setting, and I'm not a fan of covers that have people's faces on them because I don't want an artist telling me what the characters look like. I want to be able to imagine that for myself. So I just think it's a beautiful cover, and I love it. It makes me want to read the book. It made me want to read the blurb. This is a pretty simple topic, and the answer is always, because I think it's pretty. That's always going to be the reason why. My favorite character that I read during the month of October would absolutely be the character of Eleanor, the narrator of Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. I love this character. She is naive and young and idealistic and hopeful and so excited to be leaving home. She had a very ill mother who has since passed, who she was the primary caretaker for, much more than I think her sister was. And she is sort of, relieved in a way to have that burden no longer on her. And she takes the car that she owns jointly with her sister, even though her sister doesn't want her to take it, and goes to stay in Hill House. On the drive out there, this is my favorite part of the book. On the drive out to Hill House, she passes by through all this countryside, and she goes past, houses with oleander, bushes and trees, and just like she makes up all these stories in her head. She imagines what her life would be like if she lived in that house, what her life would be like if that was her tree or whatnot. And just this sort of hopeful, optimistic, idealistic, naive, sweet ideas that she has about everything that she drives past. That section was just so hypnotic to me. It was so charming. It evoked memories that I have of road trips that I've taken. I love to drive. My whole family drives. We never flew anywhere. We drove cross country many times. She's a beautifully written character, and I have a section where I talk about my favorite highlights, but I'm going to steal one of them for this. So she's on this road trip, and she is just feeling so free for the first time in her life. And she says she might never leave the road at all, but just hurry on and on until the wheels of the car were worn to nothing and she had come to the end of the world. I think that probably, I don't know if there's anybody who hasn't ever felt that, who hasn't ever been in the car. Maybe there's something not great going on in their life, and they're so excited to have that feeling of freedom that they're in the car, that they have this sense of they could just drive forever. There was a day when I was in high school when my family moved, and for a short time I was not adjusting well to the move, and I actually cut classes and did not go to school. And I drove and drove and drove and drove, and I know that in my head I was like, I wish I could just drive away. Now, I didn't want to leave my family, but I just didn't want to live there, and I didn't want to be in that school, and I wasn't happy with the move that we'd made. And when I read that, it brought that back instantly. I think it places you right in her corner right from the beginning, and it of course set the stage for what was going to happen to her later on in the book. That section made me fall in love with Eleanor, And it was actually so brilliant to me how quickly she became sort of skeptical and paranoid. And it's just a beautiful character and a great book. The next thing I have is my favorite relationship. My favorite relationship that I read in the month of October was the relationship between the sort of title character from Heartbreaker by Claudia Dey and her dog. The relationship between her and her dog is really amazing, as illuminated by the dog. And I'm going to read a rather lengthy quote from the dog just to give you some little taste of how quirky and cool this book is. You asked me for it, my opinion, many times. You were desperate for it. You would stand in front of the mirror. I would lick my fur. At the beginning of the affair, it was about eyeshadow, gold or blue, belt or no belt, hair up or down. But by the end, it was about your name, about your body, what to do about your body, where to place your body. I am not sure you heard me. Just before you sprinted to the truck and slammed the door so I could not get in and over your lap to the passenger seat, forcing me to follow your taillights through the ice, love is the highest humiliation, I am not sure you heard me. So here it is. Gold, belt, down, Billie Jean Fontaine, rest it, Bungalow 88. So that is the dog talking to, addressing this to the woman, the title character, who we never really meet, wishing that she hadn't left because she disappears at the beginning of the book. And I love it. That relationship is immediately, the devotion of a dog to its master, the love of the dog for her, and how much the dog wanted her to come home. Really, honestly, could have chosen the dog in this book as my favorite character. The way she's written, this dog, is that she's just another intelligent being who happens to be a dog. It's just not written in a silly way. And I mentioned this in my Spookathon wrap-up, but I just wanted to reiterate how great that section of this book was. And so that's my favorite relationship from everything I read in October. The next section is where I read some of my favorite highlights from the month of October. So these are from The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there, walked alone. A dog slept uneasily in the shade against a wall. A woman stood in a doorway across the street and looked at Eleanor, and two young boys lounged against a fence, elaborately silent. All right, now my highlights from Heartbreaker by Claudia Dey. Sometimes I get lonesome for a storm, a full-blown storm where everything changes. You are no longer speaking your mind, but ransacking it. Yes, come on, writing. I love that quote. From Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. The conquest of the earth, which mostly means the taking it away from those who have a different complexion or slightly flattered noses than ourselves, is not a pretty thing when you look into it too much. Yeah, no kidding. Slade House by David Mitchell. A dragonfly settles on a bulrush an inch from my nose. Its wings are like cellophane, and Jonah says, its wings are like cellophane. And I say, I was just thinking that. But Jonah says, just thinking what? So maybe I just thought he'd said it? Valium rubs out speech marks and pops thought bubbles. Quote, I'm pretty sure this can't be heaven or hell, but I know it's not Rhodesia. On to my favorite writing style that I read in the month of October, and this will be Bram Stoker's writing of Dracula, which I'm still reading, but I've read before and I love. It's very formal, and yet it conveys an intelligence in Jonathan Harker, even in the face of all of these really outrageous, ridiculous happenings. He manages to present these crazy things like, a grown man, Count Dracula, climbing down the side of his castle head first. I think that Harker could come off as really naive and stupid, but he doesn't. He comes off as appropriately skeptical and intelligent, even in the face of all this craziness. I don't know. I believe in his intelligence. And so his just stupefied reaction to a lot of the things that are happening around him and the way he perceives things, like when the three female vampires are coming after him and everything, it rings true to me. It feels just skeptical enough to make it seem like it's really happening. I love the writing style, and I actually really like the fact that it's written in a kind of a formal style, and I love the fact that it's an epistolary novel that's written in the form of all of these letters. I really like reading things that are written that way. And, you know, I do like classics, and I like more formal writing sometimes, and so it's not a huge surprise that that's my favorite writing. Now, my favorite book that I read in October was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which is not a huge surprise. You know, I haven't finished reading Dracula, but I wouldn't choose that anyway because it's one of my favorite books already. The Haunting of Hill House was just charming and spooky and gothic and claustrophobic and dark and just all of these things that I love. And I loved the main character, and I just thought it was beautifully written. It was the perfect vibe for, you know, the week of Halloween or the month of Halloween. And I'm really glad I read it, and I know I'm going to reread it many times in my life now, so it's probably going to become one of my new favorites, and therefore I couldn't not choose it. And I still haven't watched the Netflix version, the Netflix adaptation, and I need to, and I know it's probably very loosely based, but I need to watch it anyway, and I'm looking forward to that. But as I said before, I haven't had any time. With all of the bookishness out of the way, I am going to say my one non-bookish favorite thing from the month of October. And this time that's really easy. So my favorite non-book related thing from this last month would have to be something that I look forward to every fall. And that would be the release of Ben & Jerry's Pumpkin Cheesecake Ice Cream. Yes, this ice cream is sweet. It has a graham cracker crust swirled through it, which is like buttery and amazing, and then it's got the pumpkin-y flavor to the ice cream, and it is so good. And I don't actually really like pumpkin pie that much. This isn't like a pumpkin pie ice cream. This is like a pumpkin cheesecake. It is so perfectly pumpkin cheesecake. It tastes exactly like that. The graham crackerness. Oh my goodness. You guys, if you think that any part of that ice cream sounds even remotely like something you'd enjoy, go get it. And if you haven't had it before, you're welcome. Also, I would like to pass along the wisdom of the ages and remind you that when you do open a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, you are required to eat the entire pint. You're not allowed to have part of it and put it away, because that's just silly. Besides, after your dog licks the lid and then rips up and destroys what remains of said lid, how are you gonna cap it up again? And now I feel like I need to go get some. So that is my favorites for the month of October. Thank you guys so much for being here for this video and for being patient. And I know it's taken a while since I put a video out. Please, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. And if you would like to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate you all being here. And until next time, I will be here in the dark reading. Bye, guys.